So exactly how many items do you have to be able to qualify yourself as a minimalist or an ultra minimalist or even an extreme minimalist? The answer is, I tricked you. The answer is, there is no answer. It's however many items you want it to be, as few or as many as there are, because the answer is, it is your life and you need to curate what works for you. I think a lot of people coming to minimalism get really frustrated or just shut down and think I could never do this because they see these videos out there saying I need to have this many items in my wardrobe or follow this exact rule, or I can't have this, or I need to have only this amount of this certain thing. And even though I myself am a ultra minimalist, by the way, who defined me as an ultra minimalist? Just me. Did I pass some sort of certification or qualification or have the minimalism police stop by to check to make sure I didn't have too much shit? No, I just call myself that because it resonates, but really it's just, these are the amount of things that I have, but I am absolutely not telling you that you need to have the few amount of things that I have. This is just what works for me, and I'm sharing it so that it might inspire you in case anyone is wanting to pare down their items. But at the end of the day, your minimalism will look like your life and mine will look like mine, and Susie over here, it will look like hers, and Jeremy or Mark's will look like Jeremy or Mark's. Everyone has a different ride to ride and different needs and preferences and hobbies and likes and styles and dislikes and family sizes and you name it. The gamut of the whole spectrum of how it could look is infinite. So following someone else's prescriptions and rules as far as exactly how many items you have to own, I don't recommend that at all. And I'm not recommending that you follow exactly anything of what I'm doing. I'm just here, I'm just some quirky California chick showing my life so that if something resonates and you want to follow that thread, you can follow that thread. But I'm not going to tell you you're wrong or you're not a minimalist because you're not doing exactly what I'm doing. I've seen a lot of comments, people almost asking for permission to keep things like, oh, but I really like books. That's the hardest thing for me to let go. Like, keep your damn books. I think that's wonderful. I personally don't keep books because I do love to read, but I don't go back and read them. And after carrying around my college books for years, like heavy accounting textbooks, I'm like, I don't need this shit and I don't want it. But I'm not going to, put the hammer down on someone because they have a book collection, or maybe they like Transformer dolls, or maybe you have a really simple minimal wardrobe, but makeup is your jam because you're an artist and you have a huge makeup collection. Like, cool, that's fine. You don't have to get rid of it. The point of minimalism is abundance. It's not living in suffering and forcing yourself to get rid of things that actually truly add value to your life. The point is just curating it down to being able to see what are those things that add value and maybe releasing the things that aren't adding value. But at the end of the day, I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer that. And so I'll provide tools here and maybe some sort of guidelines, but there's certainly not rules and regulations and exact numbers and rubrics to follow, because that's just dogma at the end of the day. And I'm not a guru. I'm just a person that has some personal preferences and some things that have helped me along the way. And I've learned from a lot of really amazing teachers. So I'm going to share that here, but I'm absolutely not giving a prescription of this is how you should live and this is exactly how you should do it, because I think that's nonsense. And that applies for everything across the board. I'm sharing stuff here that's not just minimalism, it's lifestyle things. And it's just my life and things that work for me, in case something might be interesting to someone so they find some inspiration if it resonates. But if you don't agree with it, like, that's totally fine. And if you can't follow it to the T, like, that's more than fine too. You shouldn't have to, because you're not me and I'm not you, and we have very different lives, I'm sure. And I think people get caught up in this perfection mentality. Well, I can't get my wardrobe down to 25 items, so I just can't be a minimalist and I'll just buy all these clothes. Or the reason I've not made this a vegan channel, even though I myself am vegan, is because I have no interest in getting in the diet wars out there. Look, I eat vegan because it's right for me, but does that mean I'm going to chastise you for not being vegan or not be your friend because you're not vegan? Absolutely not. None of my closest friends are vegan. None of my family is vegan. And my best friend in the whole world, we are total soul sisters. her favorite food is steak. Guess what? It doesn't matter, because the love and deep connection that we can have as humanity is deeper than those sort of surface level manifestations of how you choose to live your life. And if you're constantly caught up in perfection and self-sabotaging yourself because you can't reach that level of perfection, and then just giving up on whatever you're trying to accomplish, and or tearing other people down for not being at that level of perfection, then no one's going to get anywhere. Look, perfection does not exist, and even I will be totally transparent about all of my perfections, because again, I'm not some sort of guru here that's got it all figured out. Like, I'm trying to do my best with some things in life and grow as a human being and grow with the community here, but I am not perfect whatsoever. And it was pointed out to me in the comments of my last video of, because I mentioned I really prefer cruelty products, where like someone said, oh, that Aveeno lotion and those burpees, those are cruelty free. And yeah, actually, I know, I researched them and I tried to find cruelty-free replacements and they didn't work for me, unfortunately. So those are my non-perfect items. And I'm also have a pair of leather boots. I've talked about my Blundstone boots. Does that technically disqualify me from being called a vegan? Yes, it does by definition, and fine, that's okay. But that doesn't change the fact that I haven't eaten meat since 1996 and I won't for the rest of my life. So, but I feel like people do spend energy saying, well, you did this, so now you can't be that, and this sort of like tribalism thing that we get into, or tearing someone down because they're not perfectly fitting into some sort of box, or tearing yourself down because you can't fit into that box, is such a waste of energy. Like, if we, perfection doesn't exist. If we could just try your best to make certain changes that feel right for you, and then respect where other people are at making their own changes to do what feels right for them, we'd be in a lot more peaceful place, I think. And I would love to see more of that energy on the internet. That's a lofty goal, but I'm trying to create that in this space here of like, look, we're all here to grow and learn, and let's support each other on that journey as we are doing our best. And it's okay if we don't agree. And it's a beautiful thing, actually, if we don't agree, because that means you're thinking for yourself. That's the whole point I'm trying to get through here, is don't just follow what I'm saying as dogma or prescription, or do exactly this. If something is helpful, sure, use it, but you ultimately, you have to think for yourself and follow your own intuition. I think in modern society, with the access we have of 1 million self-help gurus and self-help books and this specialist and that kind of doctor, and those can be wonderful tools, but we're kind of being rendered helpless. We're being told that you don't have the tools within yourself, you don't have your own sense of yourself, you don't have your own intuition, you don't have your own inner wisdom to draw from. But that's actually crap. You really, really do. It's just been suppressed. And if you can kind of quiet the noise for a little bit and tune in and listen in, this is why I spend so much time in silence, that inner voice will start to rise to the surface, and you will know what to do and what is right for your life. And it won't always be in accordance with what people around you say is correct, but that's okay. We have 8 billion people on this planet that are from wildly different circumstances. I mean, even in America, where I live, people love to say, oh, it's this country, it's so divided. Like, well, yeah, first of all, we're huge. And why should a farmer in Alabama in an incredibly small town have the same worldview as a Silicon Valley tech giant? Like, those are two totally different realities. So of course they're going to have different thoughts, opinions, and value systems, and that's okay. That means they're thinking for themselves versus just being a blind robot and following what they're told to do. But if we could respect each other's differences more rather than just jump on the internet and troll, and if someone doesn't agree with your echo chamber, try to tear them down rather than see the commonality of like, hey, okay, we don't agree on that, but there's these other things we could agree on. And it doesn't, it's all just surface stuff. I remember I've always had like a very eclectic group of friends. And I remember when I was in college, I was, a student in business school training for the Olympics and very square and preppy. And I was working at Starbucks, and there was this girl there. I think she was maybe my assistant manager. Her name was Francine, and she was covered in tattoos and piercings and loved hard death metal and loved to party and was a recovering meth addict. And we couldn't have been more different on the surface as far as how our lives were playing out, but none of that mattered because we had the best time. We laughed like crazy together. We would talk for hours. We had so much fun working together. We hung out outside of work because there was a soul connection there, and nothing on our surface life was congruent, but that doesn't matter. And I guess that's one of the points I'm trying to get across here is rather than tear each other down for our differences or not fitting into this perfect box or tearing yourself down for not fitting into that perfect box, like just seeing the commonality of humanity that we have, I think would get us to a lot more a peaceful place. And do your best with how you're living your life and take inspiration where it feels right to take inspiration, but don't chastise yourself for not being able to fit in someone else's rubric, because you shouldn't fit in someone else's rubric. The only person you should be trying to emulate is your highest self. There's a great quote by Bruce Lee. I hope I'm not paraphrasing this totally incorrect, but he says, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own." And I definitely live by that. I think the internet can be a wonderful tool for sharing ideas and sharing wisdom and sharing creativity, but it doesn't need to be this place where we yell at someone because they're not doing exactly what we are doing or not agreeing with everything we are agreeing. Like, that's just such a waste of time to me and waste of energy. And it's this sort of tribalism that it's in America, but it's everywhere. This, you need to agree with me or I'm gonna just sit and tear you down. Like, what is that actually doing for the planet? Like, what does that energy actually add to society? It baffles me when I think it would be a lot more productive to be like, hey, we don't agree on this thing, but let's find the things we can agree on and let's respect each other's differences. And wow, where would that, get us in life? That's definitely more of a world I would like to be in. So what is the moral of today's story? That was probably a surprise tangent you didn't think I was going to go on, but I guess the morals of the story for today: do you need a certain number of things to qualify as a minimalist? No, absolutely not. Go on your own journey, find what works for you, take some inspiration where you need it, ask some questions where you need it, but at the end of the day, just be intentional about what's in your life and ask the question if it's really adding value to your life. And if it is, then keep it. If you have 300 more times stuff than me, but it feels all intentional and great and awesome to you, and you still want to call yourself a minimalist, then call yourself a minimalist. That's wonderful. Do your life your way. So the morals of the story would be, number one, screw perfection. It doesn't exist. Number two, create your own journey. And number three, respect each other's paths as everyone else is creating their own journey that works right for them, because that's what we're all here to do. And I would love to see a world where we can live our own unique journeys and lift each other up despite our differences and see where that takes us. So that's it for today. Happy Friday, or if you're overseas and it's more than Friday, whatever time you're watching this, happy, wonderful day to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.